Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 322 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. That is the truth. Getting on to the review part of the show. We're going to fly through this here. We're going to start at the National Sports Centre in Crystal Palace, London, United Kingdom. This one was on Channel 5. Topping the bill, Isaac Chamberlain, now 14-1. A KO in the very first round against Dylan Prazovic, former world title challenger. He lost in his last fight in the third round, a knockout loss to Lawrence Sokoli. Obviously, both guys have that sole loss to Lawrence Sokoli. I said on last week's show, I don't think Chamberlain's going to get him out of there quicker than 3 rounds. He does it in 1 round. Very impressive. It was a left hook to the body. It was for the vacant IBF International Cruiserweight title. Very, very pleased for Chamberlain. Friend of the show. A guy who hasn't been on for quite a while now, but really pleased for him. Nice guy. And, you know, I'm not sure where he goes from here. I think, you know, signing with Mick Hennessy, I really like Mick Hennessy, by the way, but I think signing with him, it's not really worked out that good for him. I'm not sure if he had many other offers on the table, to be honest, but after losing to Okoli, it's been so slow his career now. He's boxed a guy here, he's beaten him in better fashion than Okoli. I don't know what he does next, but he needs to get moving now, man. He's so you know, he's very talented, but he's been so slow. I'm not sure, like I say, where he goes next. He needs to, you know, be fighting way more regular than he does. Anyways, moving on again from there, let's go to the undercard wins for Idris Virgo, now 12-0 with a draw. A TKO in round 7 against Adam Tronado, who's now 6-3. What else? I think the guy was down 4 times, by the way. Aaron McKenna with a win now, 14-0, a unanimous decision over 8 rounds against Carlos Gallardo, who's now 8-2. Aaron McKenna 14-0. He came in overweight as well, I believe, Gallardo. Anyway, it didn't matter. McKenna won. He's now the new WBC Youth World Middleweight Champion. We've got Casey Benjamin picking up a win, 15-1 with a draw. A KO in round 2 against Winston Campos. Campos down in the first round and out in the second. He's now 33-9 with 6 draws. Stephen McKenna as well with a win. He's now 11-0, a TKO in the first round against last-minute replacement Jack Eubank, who's now 4-5. He was supposed to be fighting a guy here, Eddie. This guy, Stephen McKenna, supposed to be fighting a guy at 147. He weighed in at 146 3/4, and the guy that was supposed to be fighting him weighed in 16 pounds over the limit. Not sure why he bothered turning up in the UK, by the way. And in stepped this last late minute or late God Almighty, last minute late replacement opponent who was 4-4. Have you ever heard of a guy coming in that much overweight in all your years?
Honestly, I don't think so. The only thing I can remember is, like, I think it was Gotti and Joey Gamache. He made the weight, though, but he came in and rehydrated at crazy numbers. Like, he was like 147 when they were fighting at like 135. That's as close as I've ever heard. It might have been. No, I think he actually rehydrated to more like 150 something, like almost 160, which was crazy. But man.
And moving out now to the Melbourne Pavilion in Victoria, Australia. That's my Australian accent, or as good as it gets. I'm not too good at it. I don't know. I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm probably going to switch it back. I'm not sure why we came over here. Oh yeah, it was for this guy, Sam Solomon, former world champion, now 47-16 with a draw. He beat Jesse White, who is now 6-2. Horrendous mismatch on paper, but he beat him on a split decision after 6 rounds. Not sure what he's still doing knocking about Sam Solomon. Moving out now to Japan at the International Conference Hall. Over here we had Kosi Tanaka with a win. 16-1 now, a split decision over 10 rounds against Sho Ishida, now 29-3. Bit surprising that one, to be honest with you. I think Tanaka was a big favourite. Didn't watch it. I'm going to hold my hands up. Moving out now to Kazakhstan at the CSKA Sport Complex. Over here, Stephen Ward lost a technical decision in round 7. I think he was badly cut. He went to the cards. He lost every round to Kamshibek Kabayev, who's now 4-0. Stephen Ward 13-2. That one was for the vacant WBA Gold World Cruiserweight title. Nothing else really on that card. Moving out now to Russia. I didn't see this either, mind you, but I've been told it's not worth watching back. It was a really boring fight. Dmitry Bivol defended successfully his WBA World Light Heavyweight title against Umar Salamov. Salamov now 26-2. Bivol with another points win, now 19-0. On the undercard as well, Shavkat Zonrakimov with a win. 16 wins he's got there, so a 16th win for him. He's got the one draw. His opponent retired on his store at the end of round 2. His opponent's now 4-5. Again, I think that was a late addition, a late replacement there, his opponent. Nothing else on the undercard. There was a lot of fights fall through, actually, on fight week of last week. A lot of fights fell through, including, obviously, Casemiro, Butler, and various other fights as well. I can't remember right now, but there's a lot of fights that fell through. Moving out now to the Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Over here we had on the undercard wins for John O'Carroll, friend of the show, now 21-2 with a draw. A KO in round 2 against Ailio Mesquita, who's now 26-1. Donny Nietes as well. He is now 43-1 and 6 draws he has. A split draw over 10 rounds against Norberto Jimenez, who's now 39-6. 30 wins, 9 losses, 6 draws. So both guys had 5 draws each. Now they've got 6 draws each there for the WBO International Super Flyweight title. Like I say, a split draw, very close fight. And the main event, Sonny Edwards with a win. He's now 17-0, a successful defense there of his IBF World Flyweight title against Filipino Jason Mama, who's now 16-1. Typical performance really from Sonny Edwards, you know. A rough start to the fight. I think he got roughed up a little bit early on by Mama, a few dirty tricks and stuff like that he was pulling, but then he got into his groove, and once Sonny Edwards is in that groove, he's effortlessly sublime. I've got to say it. I think there's no beating him when he's at his best, and he was brilliant when he got into that groove. So as predicted, he cruised to a wide points win. Moving out now to the Echo Arena, Liverpool over here on the zone. This one was on the undercard. Let's talk about it. Jordan Gill now 26-1 with a draw. It went down as a technical draw. He took on Alan Castillo, who was 27-11. He was cut on his hairline, Jordan Gill, and the fight ended up getting stopped. A technical draw in round 3 of an 8-rounder there. We had Kalmin Agyarko, I think I may be saying his name wrong, but he's now 10-0, a 9th round knockout against Noe Larios Jr., who was undefeated, 14-0. I expected that to go points, but good for Agyarko there. That one was for the vacant WBA International Middleweight title. Good prospect is Agyarko. Elsewhere on the card, talking of good prospects, Joe Cordina now 14-0, a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Mikko Kachatarian, who was also 13-0, now 13-1. That one there for Cordina's WBA Continental Super Featherweight title. Robbie Davies Jr. with a knockout in the second round against Hank Lundy. Hank Lundy has decided to retire from the sport following this defeat. Here he's now 31-10 with a draw. Knocked out in the second round, fouled to make the weight as well. Came in not much over, but just over, I think by a quarter of a pound. It was for the vacant WBA Continental Super Lightweight title. I've got to say, I think he's 37 now, Hank Lundy. I just did not expect that to happen, considering that he'd gone the distance with Jose Zepeda about, 7 months ago. He hadn't had a fight in between then and now, and he gets knocked out in 2 rounds by Robbie Davies, who I felt, by the way, would possibly lose to Hank Lundy. I had a sneaky suspicion that Hank Lundy could pull it off. But yeah, he looked absolutely shot to pieces, Hank Lundy. And it's a huge statement on paper, that, for Robbie Davies Jr. You know, I felt that fight had points written all over it. And if there would be a knockout, I think I would have probably felt that Lundy would get the knockout, but both guys not really known as big punchers, especially at 140, by the way, for both guys. So that's quite impressive there from Robbie Davies. Elsewhere on the card, I didn't see much of it, but Katie Taylor now 20-0, a unanimous decision over 10 2-minute rounds against Firuza Sharapova, who's now 14-2. A defense there of Taylor's WBC, WBA, WBO and IBF World Female Lightweight titles. What else do we have? I think that's it. Go straight to the main event now. Conor Benn 20-0, a KO in round 4 against Chris Algieri, who's now 25-4. That one for Conor Benn's WBA Continental Welterweight title. Down twice in the second round, once in the second round, Algieri, and then KO'd brutally in the end in round 4. I want to come to you straight away, Eddie. Did you happen to see that brutal knockout from Conor Benn?
No, I did not. It was bad, huh? I gotta watch it. I gotta see.
Yeah, very, very, unexpected. I felt certainly it would go late, if not go points. Ben was in total control. I gave him the first round. Obviously, got a knockdown in the second round, which I felt was a tangle of legs, really. I didn't think it should have been a knockdown. Round 3, I was very impressed with Conor Benn's head movement and his improvement, really, just all round from what he was to what he is now. If you'd have said 3 years ago his head movement's really good, people would have probably laughed. But now, he's really come on leaps and bounds, and it was a brutal KO, a huge 1-2 combination, and he knocks him out quicker than the one guy that knocked him out previously, which was, of course, Errol Spence. So big statement there for Conor Benn, who got Algieri out in round 4. That's it for the UK. Moving out now to the States once again. We're going to go here to Carson, California at the Dignity Health Sports Park. Over here on the undercard, another win for Andrew Tabiti. He returned to the ring. He's now 18-1, a KO in round 5 against Mitch Williams, who's now 16-9-3. Elsewhere on that card, Brandon Lee with another knockout win, a 7th round KO against Juan Heraldez, now 16-2-1. Brandon Lee 24-0, I think, with 22 KOs. Really good win for him there. Quadratilo Abdukukarov, who had a record of 18-0, he got in there with Cody Crowley, who was 19-0, but Abdukukarov was a huge favourite in that fight. Crowley was down in the second round. Abdukukarov got cut in round 5, and it ended in a unanimous decision for Cody Crowley, who seemed to have much more heart and much more determination and drive and will and all the rest of it. Not so much, I don't think his skills paid the bills, but what a brilliant win for him. And he puts himself, I think, now in the top end of the world rankings there at 147. I think Abdukukarov was coming up to be called the mandatory for Errol Spence. Oh boy, what a time to lose. And topping that bill, Nonito Donaire, friend of the show, now 42-6, a knockout in round 4 against Raymark Gaballo, 24-0, now 24-1, a 4th round KO there for Donaire's WBC Bantamweight World title. The left hook comes through once again for Nonito Donaire, who I think is tied at age 39 as being the oldest world champion out of all the reigning world champions. I think it's him and someone else who I cannot remember who it is, but anyways, they're both 39. In the press conference, Raymark Gaballo, when asked a question in English, he was struggling with how to answer it in English. He was struggling. He didn't know which word he was going to use. He's getting a bit confused. And would you believe it? The classy Nonito Donaire at the press conference said, "What are you trying to say?" And the guy said, "I don't know." I'm trying to, and he said, say it in Filipino to me. So actually Donaire translated the words of Gabayo, his opponent, which was really cool. He got a round of applause for that. And, he's full of class, Donaire. I love Donaire, man. He is one of my favourite fighters. He really is. Absolutely love Nonito Donaire. And really pleased to see him win that fight. I thought he'd win all day long. Gabayo did okay, though, in those rounds until that punch. And like I say, Nonito Donaire with that left hook, it's honestly one of the most devastating weapons in boxing, really. And it has been for a number of years now. And moving now to this one here, it took place in Madison Square Garden, New York, USA. Over here on the undercard, we had Nico Ali Walsh with a win, now 3-0. A majority decision over 4 rounds against Reyes Sanchez, who's now 6-1. 3-0 Nico Ali Walsh. 2 guys have been undefeated, and the other guy had a winning record. So everyone he's faced so far in the pro ranks has had a winning record. 2 of them have been undefeated. So yeah, good stuff for him. I think he lost the 3rd round quite clearly, but I don't think he lost the fight. I think he won it 3-1. That was pretty much how a lot of people had it. There was one card that was a draw, one card that gave him every round. I don't know how you could do that at all. But yeah, he's still learning on the job. Keyshawn Davis with a win as well, 4-0 now. A TKO in round 2 against Jose Zaragoza, who's now 8-4 with a draw. What else do we have? Young Xander Zayas now 12-0. A KO in the first round against Alessio Mastronunzio, who's now 9-2. Jared Anderson, the real big baby, now 11-0, friend of the show, with a TKO in round 2 against the Ukrainian fighter based in Canada, Alexander Teslenko, now 17-2. But let's just focus on the main event. Vasily Lomachenko, now 16-2, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds against Richard Commey there for the vacant WBO Intercontinental Lightweight title. Commey down in round 7. Vasyl Lomachenko signalled to the corner that they should probably stop the fight. At that point, it did not look like Commey would go the distance in the end. I wanted him to go the distance. He's a nice guy, Commey. I actually would have liked to see him win the fight. He's been on the show, therefore he's a friend of the show, therefore I support him in every fight. But, very, very nice guy, very proud guy, and it was good to not see him get knocked out, to be honest with you. But yeah, Lomachenko was pretty much in full control from the start to the finish. What can I say? What more can I say about it, really? I mean, he did what he wanted to do in there with him, and he was sensational once again. Some people are saying, Eddie, that this looks like Lomachenko from 3 years ago. What did you make of it? I know you saw it. Very dominating performance once again from Mr. High Tech, a.k.a., what do they call him? The Matrix.
I was once again thoroughly impressed with what he's able to do. It's just his boxing IQ is off the charts. I think has one of the best IQs in boxing, and that's barring any other weight. And then his understanding of, how to defend. Like he does some of the things that I've even done before and that I do, and I felt like I had to do. And it's like certain times when you slip shots, putting like a shield up just in case, the guy gets a shot that possibly can land. I've seen him do it a couple different times in that fight and in other fights. Footwork once again, is all over the place, man. It's hard to figure out where he's coming from. You know what I mean? And then you thinking you're going to hit him and you're hitting the fresh air. You know what I'm saying? And then like you got a good shot at him. You think you got a good shot. Like I seen Comey, like really honing in on a couple of the shots he was trying to throw, like sitting down on him, thinking he had a good look at him, and turn around, all of a sudden he's behind you, kind of shit. It's just I look at Lomachenko as probably one of the most frustrating fighters to fight possibly ever. You know what I mean? Because he's just he's always coming on angles. He's always defensively conscious. He's always making sure he follows certain rules, and and then he's smart enough to know that touching you, putting his hands on you, can sometimes fool you into just getting a little relaxed, not thinking anything's going to come hard in that particular moment, and then boom, a big shot comes right after. You know what I mean? Really, really educated boxer. He knows. You could tell he studied this basically his whole life, and he's one of the best at it for that reason. And it's just, I could go on all day about saying what he does well, but like I said, I think it's his IQ that really sets. Well, his IQ and his footwork that really sets him apart. I mean, his punch selection we know is good, but I think that's all based off of the position he puts himself in, from his footwork. And he's definitely he's got the hand speed, obviously, but like I said, I pay attention to what he's doing and how he sets it up. Never looks out of position, never looks uncomfortable, always looks in position to do what he always looks ready to do what is necessary to win. And A+ as far as I would grade it. Excellent performance.
Yeah, it truly was. It really was. Always great to see him fighting. And hopefully he has a huge year in 2022 with those other lightweights. There's a list of them. Moving out now to the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Over here, Jesse Hart with a win, a TKO in round 3 against David Murray. Jesse Hart now 28-3, friend of the show, really pleased for him. And moving out now to a card that took place earlier this week, Tuesday the 14th of December in Japan at the Kokugikan. I'm not sure where it is, but anyways, it's somewhere in Tokyo. Naoya Inoue with a win. He is now 22-0. He was able to knock out his opponent Arandipian, who's now 12-3. He'd never been stopped in his 2 losses. He's been stopped there. That one for Inoue's WBA and IBF World Bantamweight titles. But that is it, though, for the review part of the show. Just before we welcome our first guest, it's now time to thank our sponsor. This podcast is sponsored by Manscaped, but the opinions expressed are those of myself and former heavyweight world title challenger Eddie Chambers. This is the season to be jolly, not to be hairy. This is the time of year that your sack should have presents inside, not wild hairs on the outside. And this is your last chance to grab someone that perfect gift before Christmas is here. Visit manscaped.com and remember to use the promo code BoxHard for 20% off plus free shipping. I personally recommend the Performance Package 4.0, which again contains the Lawnmower 4.0 bush trimmer, the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver anti-chafing ball deodorant, the Crop Reviver, which is a ball spray toner. It's like a little spritz to make everything smell even better. And of course the Magic Mat for catching all the trimmings. You'll also receive 2 free gifts, the Shed travel bag and the Manscaped branded anti-chafing boxer shorts. All of this is what you'll receive if you order the Performance Package 4.0. I own one, Eddie owns one. This is good stuff. Your balls will thank you, and so will anyone that goes near your balls for that matter. This will leave you feeling comfortable and confident and ready to take whatever the day throws at you. I also want to specifically recommend the Manscaped cologne, by the way, which smells terrific and matches the fragrance of all their other products. Once again, this could be an excellent gift idea for anyone. You can gift it to yourself, your family, your friends, your partner, anyone. Literally anyone will be pleased with this as a gift. Everything I'm speaking about has been tried and tested by myself and Eddie, and we put our stamp of approval all over this stuff. Remember to visit the website once again, www.manscaped.com, and use that promo code BOXHARD for 20% off plus free shipping. But that brings part 1 to a close. The final thing for me to do is to welcome our special guest on this week's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former middleweight world title challenger, Mr. Liam Williams. Liam, welcome back on the show, my man. It's been a while.
Hey, mate, those things. Yeah, it's been a little while. You know, couple of things going on. Obviously, some big changes to camp and whatnot. So, but yeah, we're on the right track. Everything's going great, mate. Thanks.
Excellent to hear, my man. So, yeah, we last spoke... quite a while ago, back in March of 2020, right as the pandemic was starting to warm up. Since then, obviously, you've had the 2 fights, Andrew Robinson and Andrade. Before I get onto this upcoming fight, just give me a couple words, if you can, Liam, on your assessment now, looking back at the Andrade fight. Bit of a nightmare start, but a very strong finish. Probably frustrating looking back now a bit.
Yes, you know, first and foremost, it was like we didn't get the start we wanted. Obviously, got dropped early. Just got off to a bit of a crappy start, but you know, it is what it is. That's boxing. It was a frustrating night for me, if I'm being honest. He was very good. I knew he was very good anyway, but even better, even more so than what I thought, to be honest. He's very tricky, obviously being a rangy southpaw with a high skill set. But he could actually punch a little bit as well, which I was quite surprised by. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't really too phased. I don't get me wrong, I got caught with a couple of good shots, and I did get hurt a few times. But you know, them shots I got it with big shots, and they were knock most people out. So you know, I showed my grit. I come through, and I pushed him towards the end of the fight. I made a good account of myself, which is the main thing. Obviously, we would have rather come away with the win than the loss, but you know, shit happens. That's boxing. You know, you have good days and you have bad days at the office, and that obviously wasn't my best for sure.
Yeah, no, I think obviously after the start you had, I think you finished very well actually and had him in trouble. You didn't even mention that, but I felt you had him in a lot of trouble towards the end. Moving on, your next fight's penned in with Chris Eubank Jr. It was obviously pushed back due to an injury on your side. What happened there, Liam?
So, to be honest, going right back, even going into the Andrade fight, I was injured then for like probably 6 weeks before the Andrade fight. I had this pain in my shoulder, and it did. I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying the fight would have been different. Who knows? But with the Andrade fight, even in the camp during the build up and when I was sparring and stuff, sometimes it take me 2-3 rounds to get going. Because when I was trying to flick the jab, and I was getting this grinding and a very painful, achy feeling in my left shoulder. Obviously that didn't help me in the Andrade fight either. But anyway, moving forward to your question, I had an operation shortly after the fight. I had an operation about 4 weeks, I believe. Let's just say about a month after the Andrade fight, and everything was fairly good. If I'm being honest, I probably put it under a little bit too much pressure too soon. And that obviously resulted in me picking up a bit of a niggle again, which was nothing to worry about, you know, in terms of moving forward. But I couldn't move forward with my intense training right away. You know, I needed to give myself a couple of weeks, which I've obviously gave myself now, and I'm back at the full speed pretty much.
And obviously the new date, January 29th in Cardiff. It's a brilliant fight, Liam. It really is. How do you see it playing out with your style up against Eubanks? I mean, I can only see fireworks here.
Yeah, mate. To be honest with you, I do think there's going to come a point in the fight where it's just going to be an all-out war, and it's kind of going to be survival of the fittest sort of tactics. You know, we're going to start trading heavy blows, and it's kind of whoever got most in the tank and who wants them more. but I do think it's got potential to be a bit cagey for the first rounds, because it's obviously a highly anticipated fight. People are excited and saying it's going to be fireworks and whatnot. So I think there's probably going to be a bit cautious from both parties, to be honest with you. You know, I could sit here and say I'm just going to go in and bang him out and whatnot, but I honestly think the fight is not going to be an easy fight. I need to play my cards right and how I go about things. So I do think probably a cagey couple of opening rounds and feeling each other out, and then I think there's going to come a certain point in the fight where something just clicks, and it's just going to be like, right, here we go. And I'm going to light him up, basically.
To fight back in Cardiff as well for the first time in almost 4 years, what does that mean to you to bring as well a big name like Eubank over there for your more local fan base? I know that there was a big kind of homecoming for you when you came back from the States as well.
Yeah, of course, mate. With the homecoming, when I come home, whatnot, although I didn't get the win, for me to come home to that kind of reception, that meant just as much to me. It was amazing. I've got unbelievable support from the valleys in Wales, and it's quite touching, really, to be honest with you. The amount of people that do show me love and support, and from where I live, and to many people I am truly looked up to. So that's an unbelievable feeling. It's amazing.
Recently, very recently, you've parted ways with Dom Ingle. You're now training under Adam Booth. Why Adam Booth? And, what exactly happened, if you can speak about that? Is everything amicable and stuff?
Yeah, mate. So to start with, in terms of me leaving the Ingle gym and leaving Dom, that's, we haven't fallen out. We still remain friends. It's just one of them things where I started to become stale. I kind of had enough of being there in Sheffield. I wasn't feeling that good vibe anymore. In fact, if I'm being honest with you, I was sick of boxing. So it's funny how things work. Everything happens for a reason. I do believe in that. Obviously, I picked up that injury. I was 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks from a fight when it happened. And it's almost like a blessing in disguise, because thinking back now, I wasn't in the best mental state going into that fight. I really wasn't enjoying it, and I wasn't enjoying boxing overall. I kind of got sick of it, which obviously I had that injury, and I thought, shit, this is my opportunity. I need to make moves, and I need to make them fast, So obviously, Adam Booth is probably, now I've started to work with him, I would say he's the best coach in Britain, and if not, he's one of the best coaches worldwide. He's very in depth about everything he does. There's a reason behind every single thing he has me doing. It's fantastic, to be honest with you, and I don't want to sound disrespectful to anybody at the Ingle gym and to Dom.
It's an interesting change. Obviously, I remember Adam Booth had a tiny little frame where he was working with Eubank, and it didn't work out between them, so it is interesting. Your former opponent, Alontez Fox, is boxing this weekend for the WBA Super Middleweight World title, or a version of it, against David Morrell. Would you like to send him a message at all of good luck, being a former opponent of yours?
All the best to Atlantis Fox. He seems a nice guy, I know he had a little bit of back and forth for fight for that kind of standard with myself. As you probably know, I'm one of them people who, I like to get the juices flowing, and I like to get that bit of needle. But all the best to Atlantis Fox. I genuinely wish him all the best, and I hope he goes and smashes it and he wins that fight.
And of course, your now former gym mate, Bradley Skeete, quite clearly hard done by the other week. The British Board held a meeting and decided to rule in favour of referee Steve Gray. What do you make of this madness, Liam? I know you're real annoyed about this.
Yeah, mate, I was a bit upset about this, to be honest with you. As you've probably seen, I don't know, seen in my Twitter post or something. I was kind of, I acted on my emotions, if I'm being honest with you. I was really, really pissed off because Brad's a very good friend of mine. I've got so much respect for him. I've known Brad for a long time, even before he came to the Ingle gym. As I said, we're very good friends, and I thought he was breezing that fight. He was boxing so well. And the most disappointing part is everybody wrote him off. Everybody said he was going to get knocked out. He was going to get, schooled by the younger man. He was going to get beat up. And he performed unbelievably well. And can I just add, I'm so proud of Brad. I think the world of him. It was just very disappointing, you know, for a man to get hit 3 times while being on the floor. He got hit 3 times, but the first one was a bit of a touch, and then bang, bang, right, left hooks when he had a knee on the floor. Yeah, man, it really, really pissed me off. It was you know, he had that fight won. He just had to get through 2 more rounds and, you know, stick to what he was doing the whole fight, and he was the winner, and he could have moved on, but instead, you know, it was a very shitty decision made by the referee. You know, nothing personal towards Steve Gray. A referee has to make a choice there and then, and he has to act very quickly. And, you know, I do believe he should have held his hands up and said, you know, I made the wrong decision. But in respect of him, you do have to make a very quick decision, and sometimes you get it wrong, and he did get it wrong that night. So hopefully Brad does get that rematch, and the same thing happens next time, minus the punches whilst being down, and he gets the wins.
I want to ask you this as well. Obviously, again, former gym mate. The reason I'm asking you this is because some people feel like he doesn't have much left. Kell Brook against Amir Khan. People are kind of saying who's got the most left of what they've got, but you obviously have you know, sparred Kell, seen behind closed doors. How do you see that fight playing out, unbiased?
It's hard to be unbiased, if I'm being totally honest with you, because as you can imagine, you know, I've spent all the time with Kell, and again, we are friends. I've got a lot of respect for him. So, but listen, Khan, he's obviously still got a bit left. He was what he was, unbelievable fighter, very fast hands, and a top quality operator. So, but then on the other hand, so is Kell. He's been at that high level, both of them have, and I just think, from my point of view, I just think Khan doesn't hold the shot very well, and Kell is definitely the bigger, stronger, and harder punching man. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. You know, I believe the fight is made at 150.
Do you know what? You caught me on the spot. I'm not even sure. Or 149 or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might be 149. You know, but either way, that's my problem. Is I think the weight will affect Kell more than it will Khan. So it's a very interesting fight. I'm definitely interested to see how it goes. Obviously, wish Kell all the best. I'll obviously speak to him anyway. But I believe if Kell turns up then and he can plant the few on Khan, then I believe it's good night for Khan. But you never know. He is a outstanding talent, even though he's not what he once was.
My last real question for you, Liam. In the month of December, everyone that I interview every year, I like to ask what's on your Christmas wish list in terms of your boxing career. Where can you be this time next year in a realistic world? Where do you want to be this time next year, realistic world?
Well, mate, I never look too far into the future with boxing. You know, things happen very quickly. You could turn into a superstar overnight, and sometimes your career can end overnight. It is what it is. But ideally for me, one fight at a time. I just want to go and batter Eubank and really put on a good display, and then get a massive fight on the back end of it, which is ideally for me. I would. I've said it for quite a while now. I want to fight Golovkin.
And if you've got any closing words just before we wrap it up, Liam, to the listeners, say whatever you like, absolutely whatever you like before we let you go.
Nothing more than just happy Christmas to everybody. I hope you all enjoy, stay safe. All the usual stuff, mate. Just hope you have a great time, and think of me when I'm at home eating salads and training twice a day for a fight.
We certainly will try to think of you around that time, Liam, when we're all stuffing our bellies.
Yeah, bullshit.
But listen, Liam, it's been a real pleasure catching up with you again. Best of luck for January 29th, and I look forward to catching up with you sometime after. And once again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you.
Awesome, mate. Thanks. I appreciate your time also.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, normally the news part of the show, but we have nothing at the moment, so if anything develops from now to the end of the show, we will speak about it at the very end on the outro. We're going to start here with the preview part at the Bell Centre in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Over here, Artur Beterbiev 16-0 in a 12-rounder, defending his WBC and IBF light heavyweight world titles against USA's Marcus Brown 24-1. I don't know what it is, Eddie, because Brown has been down a few times in his career. Down off Pascal a few times, I think down off someone else. But I've just got this weird feeling that Marcus Brown's going to do something in this fight, and I've not seen anyone else agree with that, but I just think the natural athleticism of Brown and just maybe the age as well of Beterbiev, he's going to be 37 next month. I have just got a weird feeling that Brown's got a big chance in this fight if, however, he doesn't get hit, which he can get hit and he can go down, but you can't afford to get hit properly by this guy because everyone goes down and stays down. 16-0, 16 KOs.
Yeah, I do agree. He does have a great deal of athleticism. He's talented. He's got pedigree. He's got ability. He's got a lot of different things to bring to the table. But Beterbiev is probably one of the toughest puzzles to solve in boxing right now. And when I say tough, I mean tough. Hard-headed guy, comes forward. Very, very hard puncher, very determined. And it just seems like it's only a matter of time when you're in there with him. Eventually, he's going to land the shot he needs to get you out of there. And like you said, 16-0, 16 knockouts. Everybody has stayed down. So, and I've seen him in there with good, talented boxers. And, you know, it's just he's a tough, rugged kind of guy. And he's not a terrible fighter or anything by any means. He's not just tough. He still knows how to box. He knows how to get you, corner. He knows how to land certain shots. He knows what his best shots are, so it's going to be a very difficult fight for Marcus Brown. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to pull this one off. It can happen, and everybody got a puncher's chance, even though, most people think he's, understand how tough of a chin this guy has too. So it's like, there's a lot of things that can happen in boxing. There's a lot of ways things can shake out differently. But it's really, I agree, he's a little older, so things may start to get a little bit more tender, like chin, different things. But I just think that his punching power and his aggressiveness and things like that is going to win the night. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Beterbiev to win, and probably by a stoppage at some point. Anywhere from I would say the 5th on, maybe even earlier.
Okay, interesting take. I mean, we shall see. I just got this feeling, especially if it goes late. I've got a feeling that Brown can outbox Beterbiev, but we will see. Again, I sometimes say crazy things. Sometimes it makes me look really stupid. Sometimes I look like a genius. I'm going to just gamble here with that one. Moving out now to Tashkent in Uzbekistan. This one's going to be on DAZN again Friday. Over here we've got Israel Madrimov 7-0 in a 12-rounder against France's Michel Soro, who is 35-2 with a draw. We've also got Bektemir Melikuziev 7-1, coming off that crushing knockout to Gabriel Rosado, one of the best knockouts of 2021. That's an 8-rounder there. He gets in with Sergey Ekimov, who's 18-3. What else do we have? We've got Shakram Giasov as well, 11-0. He gets in with Christian Koria, who's 29-8 with 2 draws. Moving out now to Kazakhstan. Over here, we've got Daniil Yelusinov, the Olympic gold medalist, 10-0 in a 12-rounder against Juan Liao, who is 15-1. That one there for the vacant IBO welterweight world title. We've got Ivan Dyko as well, 10-0, 10 KOs, the heavyweight, who's been in there with a who's who of guys in the amateurs and is not wasting any time really as a pro. Just a little recap: he's beaten in the amateurs the likes of Eric Pfeiffer, the likes of Efia Jagbar. He beat Majidov. He beat Filip Hrgovic. Beat Zili Zhang. He's been in there. He's beaten Jalalov, who we saw fight on the weekend. He's been in there with Tony Yoka. He's been in there with many guys. Been in there with Joe Joyce. been in there with Anthony Joshua. The guy is a really, really good, deep pedigree fighter. He gets in with Alexander Ustanov, 36-5 with a draw. That's over 10 rounds there. Also on the card, nothing else really to mention on that one. Moving out now to Mexico, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. gets out again. I hope it's not going to be as embarrassing as his fight with Anderson Silva, but he's 52-6 with a draw in a 10-rounder against David Zergara, who's 34-6. Moving out now to the Manchester Arena over here. On the undercard, we've got Alan the Savage Babbage. Haven't seen an opponent for him just yet. He's 9-0, no opponent for him. We've also got on the card Jordan Thompson, 11-0. I think coming off that first round knockout last time out. He's in a 6-rounder against Clement Openo, who's 5-1. We've got Zelfa Barrett, 26-1, getting in with Bruno Torimo, who's 26-2. We've got Jack Cullen, Little Lever's Meat Cleaver, the nickname, 20-2 with a draw, fighting for the vacant EBU European Super Middleweight title against late replacement Kevin Saggio, who's 16-0. We've got Carlos Gongora, 20-0 in a 12-rounder against our very own Lerone Richards, 15-0 there for the IBO World Super Middleweight title. But let's go straight to the main event. I'm going to come to you straight away here, Eddie. Joseph Parker, 29-2, a rematch I don't think he really needed with Derek Delboy Chisora, 32-11. It's going to be interesting, just like the first fight was. The first fight was very close. I couldn't believe it when Chisora put Parker down within about 20 seconds of the first round. I've just got a feeling, though, I've always said it, I think these two having 100 fights, I think it goes the distance 100 times. I think Parker points like I did the first fight. I was right the first time. I think it's going to be the same, but probably not as close this time around.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think now he understands a little bit more what he's dealing with. He's not going to take in, he's a little older. He's been beat by this guy and beat by that guy, because Chisora comes to fight everybody, no matter who he fights. So he's going to put them hands up and come out swinging, Joe Frazier style. That's the way he is. But I think Joseph Parker's he understands it more. He knows what to expect. He's going to box probably a lot better. He's going to stand when he needs to. I think, and not completely just continue to go in reverse, because that's a bad thing too, especially when you got an aggressive guy coming. It just continues to give him confidence. So I think he's going to do the right thing. Keep the jab in his face. I'm going to do a couple other little things to just keep the fight just where he needs it, not to allow Chisora to get too aggressive, too much confidence, and stick around too long on the inside. So, yeah. I can agree with that, Joe. I think it's going to be pretty much it's going to be interesting, because Chisora's going to make it interesting. He's going to come to fight. But I think Joseph Parker's younger. He's fresher. He's got a little bit, he's a better boxer, especially at this stage in his career. At any stage, really, because that's not Chisora's style. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It was a fight that I would want to see, regardless of them having the first one, because, like I said, Chisora's going to bring it. But I'm going to go with Joe Parker, too.
All the best to Joseph Parker, friend of the show. Really, really cool guy. Moving out now to the Rainton Meadows Arena over here in Tyneham, where on this card here, I'm not sure I think it might be a boxer card. It might be on Box Nation as well, so watch out for that. On the card, we've got Joe Laws, 11-1, no opponent just yet for him. We've got Thomas Patrick Ward, 30-0 with a draw. He gets in with Leonardo Padilla, who is 20-3 from Venezuela. I've said it before about Thomas Patrick Ward. He has an incredibly padded record. He was a great amateur. He's been a great pro, still unbeaten and all the rest of it. Cannot seem to get a big fight. I don't know what the hell is going on with him, but I will say he hasn't looked good lately, and I've said it. I hope I'm wrong, because at one point he was one of our best prospects in the UK, but it seems like he's burned out a little bit now. You know, he had that draw with Thomas Asomba. That was a really, really tight fight there. He was expected to box rings around Thomas Asomba. Then in his last fight, he got dropped as well in the 5th round. He ended up getting up and winning the fight on points. But still, he has not looked his old self. He's had 31 fights. I don't understand what the hell's going on with him. But all the best to him, man. I hope he can turn it round and win a world title, because he was certainly capable when he turned pro. But like I say, he's been a pro now since 2012 and just really hasn't had a big fight. It's nearly 10 years. Elsewhere on that card, let's talk about this one here. Ricky Burns 43-8 with a draw in a 10-rounder here against Emiliano Dominguez, who's 26-9 with a draw. Never been stopped, Dominguez. Obviously Ricky Burns never been stopped as well. You'd expect that one's going to go to points. Ricky Burns seems like he hasn't had a fight for ages. Yeah, his last fight was against Lee Selby 2 years ago. God, wow. Yeah, so he should almost be retired, I think, Ricky Burns, but we shall see what happens there. And Lewis Ritson, the Sandman, 21-2. He's coming off that loss last time out back in June to Jeremias Ponce. He gets in with Christian Uruzquieta, who has a record of 20-4 with 2 draws. Not really a puncher, to be honest with you. Going down the record, his losses have come in decent level, but I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting. It is interesting seeing as Ritson's coming off a loss, and he hasn't really looked good, let's be honest, since moving up to 140. Definitely not the destroyer he was down at 135. Moving out now to the Amali Arena in Tampa, Florida, USA. This one's going to be on Showtime pay-per-view. Jake Paul 4-0 in an 8-rounder against Tyrone Woodley. It was supposed to be Tommy Fury. It's a rematch between those guys. I'm just going to say a brief sentence on it, really. Obviously, Jake Paul, hasn't gave Woodley the same notice he had for the first fight. It's not really his fault. I'm kind of giving him applause as well, because he has given him the rematch, which didn't look like it was going to happen. He said, "You've got to go and get my name tattooed on you, otherwise you're not getting the rematch." And he actually went and got his name tattooed on his middle finger, Tyrone Woodley, and it didn't look like the fight was going to be happening, and it is now happening. Because if I think Jake Paul would have lost to Tommy Fury, surely that's the end of the Jake Paul boxing career. I don't think he's going to fight Tyrone Woodley again. So this is brilliant for Woodley that Fury's out the fight. That's about the only person that is celebrating the fact that Fury's out the fight. But he hasn't had the time to prepare. But he's a fit guy. I guess it's going to be interesting. But I do want Jake Paul to win, because I do eventually want to see that Fury fight. And if he loses, that's the end of it, I think. I don't think he's going to carry on racking up losses. It's not really the same buzz if that were to happen. On the undercard, we also have Jalen Love, 24-3 with a draw in an 8-rounder against Marcos Oliveira, who's 28-5 with a draw. All the best to Jalen Love, friend of the show. We've also got Amanda Serrano, 41-1 with 1 draw in a 10-rounder, of course, 10 2-minute rounds against Miriam Gutierrez. No title on the line, but Miriam Gutierrez, 14-1, lost her O against Katie Taylor, I think it was last year. Katie Taylor went the distance with her. Can Serrano knock her out? Serrano as well is on the verge of breaking the record for the most knockouts in women's boxing. Moving out now to the Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. Not sure what channel this one's going to be on. I'm guessing Showtime. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because you've got Showtime pay-per-view with the Jake Paul stuff. I'm not sure I think this is going to clash with it, so I don't know what's going on with the TV station, but you'll have to find that out yourselves, unfortunately. On this card, we've got Richardson Hitchens, 12-0, a 10-round contest here. I've heard a lot about this guy, young prospect. He gets in with another young prospect, Malik Hawkins, 18-1. Could be a good fight there. But the main event, I've got a lot of interest in this one. We've got David Morrell, the Cuban, 5-0 with 4 KOs. He holds a version of the WBA super middleweight world title, and he gets in with friend of the show, Alontes Sly as a Fox, 28-2 with a draw. Obviously, Alontes Fox, 2 losses came to Liam Williams and Demetrius Andrade. Can Fox pull it off? I really hope he can. All 6'5" of him. I want him to work the jab and beat this inexperienced as a pro Cuban. A guy who's 5-0 fighting a guy who's had 31 fights. Come on, Alontes Fox. I'd love to see him do it. Very nice guy. And if he does do it, I tell you what, it's going to be unbelievable for him, who, his career's not in a great place at the moment, I don't think. He got smashed by Liam Williams, hasn't really gained any momentum since then. Moving out now to a fight card that takes place at the H Suite in Birmingham, West Midlands. Over here, just a quick shout out to Hannah Bagley, who hosted a show with me earlier on this year. She said she was going to be a regular part of the panel. Didn't seem like it worked out. Eddie took her place back. Hannah Bagley, 1-0. No opponent just yet for her. And moving out now, this one takes place next Tuesday, actually. Tuesday is taking place down under. Shall I do my Australian accent again for this one, Eddie?
I think so, Joe. I think you should.
Okay, here goes nothing. So this one takes place at the Star Event Centre down in Sydney, New South Wales. We've got over here Andrew Maloney, former world title challenger, 21-2. I'm a bit tired as well, so I don't know if that's the best one, but he's 21-2. He's getting in there with Frolian Saluda, who has a record of 32-4 with a draw. This one for the vacant WBO Oriental Super Flyweight title, mate. So all the best there to my good pal, Andrew Maloney. That was the best I could do. Maloney, you like that? You like that? There we go.
Yeah, it's not bad, Joe. You got it.
Oh, God, yes. I'll tell you a real quick funny story. Obviously, I'm pretty good, I think, with my accent. So I've just did my Australian, probably not the best you've heard. I do a good Mike Tyson. I think we can agree on that one. And obviously, I've done Chris Eubank Sr. before, many times on the podcast. Nigel Benn said to me, I did the Chris Eubank one to him on the phone. And he said, because he said, like, do it now, let me hear it now. So I gave him a bit of Eubank Sr., and he was like, wow, it was just like him. Wow, I can't believe it's made. I've got goosebumps. And I was like, wow, thanks, man. Like, I really appreciate it. And then he said to me that a lot of people can do Chris Eubank Sr., but no one can do the Dark Destroyer, Nigel Benn. So I said, all right, okay, give me a little bit of time. I'll work on it. And I sent him a voice note of me doing his voice. And long story short, he didn't reply. I've messaged him a couple of times since, and he has not replied. So I don't know if I've annoyed him with my impression of him, but I tried my best. I tried my best. Yo. I don't think I'm going to release it.
I think he was pissed off because it sounded just like him. That's why. He's like, damn, somebody can do me that well.
Oh, gosh, we shall see. But no, I don't think I'm going to release it, but that is a true story. And just before we wrap up part 2, I do just want to say, get ready for it, because we will be doing, obviously, this week's podcast going out today, which will be the 16th of December. Next week's show is the Christmas special, so there will be a long interview with a former fighter, a former world champion. I think that's going to be on our Christmas special show, and perhaps one or two other surprise guests. We shall see. Haven't really put much work into it just yet. I'm trying my best to get, a kind of strange guest, as I like to do every Christmas. We like to get weird people on. I remember one time we had Andrew Selby and Lee Selby and Eric Molina and Charles Martin. They was all on the Christmas special. There was another year we had Nonito Donaire and Tom Loeffler and I think Hassan Endam. We like to have really random names and from together. I think it's probably only going to be just one guest. We shall see though, but it's going to be someone from the yesteryear, a former champion. That is my promise to you. And then the week after that, obviously, will be the end of the year podcast. It's going to be the final podcast of 2021. And the reason I'm telling you this whole thing is because I need you, the listeners, to send us in your... I've got a list of it right here. We're going to do... Just bear with me. We need your fighter of the year, your young fighter of the year, which they have to be 25 years of age or under. We want your knockout of the year, your upset of the year, your British fighter of the year. When I say that, I don't mean at the very top level. I mean a British fighter who isn't at the top level but has had a fantastic year. There's a few guys, not going to give any names away. The most improved fighter, it can be British and it can be in the world. The prospect of the year, I want to hear that. the fight of the year as well, your favourite fight of the year, and also the trainer of the year. And if there's any other categories that spring to mind that you want to throw them in. Myself and Eddie will analyse each and every one that's sent in, and that is going to be what we pretty much focus on for the end of year podcast. So it's not this week, it's not next week, that's the Christmas special, it's the final podcast of 2021 when we go over those categories. It's going to be fun. I've been looking forward to it all year, and we're going to ask you on Twitter and here to send those in to myself already, and they will all be read out. It's going to be fun chopping it up, because there was going to be a Gennady Golovkin fight that week, but that's been cancelled now in Japan against Murata, so there's not going to be anything to review. So we're going to spend all the time chopping up your picks on those categories. But anyway, that wraps up part 2. The final thing for me to do just before we end the show completely is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 322 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to our special guest on this week's podcast, the former middleweight world title challenger, Liam Williams. We did have some minor technical difficulties when recording that Liam Williams interview, so I just want to apologise if anyone was bothered by that. I want to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in once again. I want to thank our sponsor, Manscaped. Remember to visit www.manscaped.com and use the promo code BoxHard for 20% off plus free shipping. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.